The morning sun bathed my garden in a soft golden light, the air thick with the scent of roses and freshly turned earth. At 67, I'd cultivated this small patch of Eden behind my modest Ohio cottage as a sanctuary, a place to heal after my husband Robert's death 5 years ago. The roses, crimson, blush, and ivory, were my pride, their petals velvet under my fingertips. I knelt among them, my hands buried in the cool, damp soil, checking the roots of a new sapling. The world felt calm, predictable, until a sharp, searing pain shot through my back like a lightning bolt. I gasped, my trowel slipping from my fingers, clattering against a stone. The ache spread from my shoulder down my spine, locking my body in place. I closed my eyes, trying to breathe through it, but the pain was relentless, a fire that refused to fade. I'd always been active, daily walks through the neighborhood, a diet of fresh vegetables from my garden, yoga to keep my joints supple. People often remarked, "Elaine, how do you stay so youthful?" No secret, just discipline and a refusal to let age dim the spark of the young woman I still felt inside. But loneliness had crept in since Robert's passing, a quiet ache that no amount of gardening could soothe. My beauty might still turn heads, but inside, I was hollow, yearning for connection I hadn't felt in years. That morning, as the pain pinned me to the earth, I was alone. Or so I thought. "Elaine, are you okay?" Taylor's voice cut through the haze, warm and urgent. My step-nephew, 22, stood at the edge of the garden path, his broad shoulders outlined against the morning sky. His blonde hair shimmered in the sunlight, and his blue eyes, sharp with concern, locked onto me. Taylor was a construction worker, his body sculpted from long days hauling lumber and swinging hammers. He had a magazine cover face, high cheekbones, a square jaw, and a natural charm he seemed oblivious to. He was visiting by chance, stopping by to drop off a tool he'd borrowed from my shed. Now, all his youthful energy was focused on me. "My back," I managed, my voice tight as I pointed to the spot where the pain burned hottest. "I can't move." Taylor crouched beside me, his flannel shirt brushing my arm, the faint scent of sawdust and cedar clinging to him. "Let me help," he said, his voice steady but laced with worry. His hands, strong and calloused, touched my shoulders, and an involuntary shiver ran through me. Not from pain, but from the sudden warmth of his touch. "I'll give you a massage. It usually helps," he added, his tone practical yet gentle. I didn't have the strength to protest. The pain was too sharp, and his offer felt like a lifeline. I nodded, my throat tight, and he began pressing gently into my tense muscles. The pain started to ease, but something else stirred, a warmth that spread through me like sunlight melting frost. It wasn't just physical relief. It was as if the lonely woman inside me, long buried under grief and routine, stirred awake. I let out a breath, too deep, too telling, the sound echoing in the quiet garden. "Taylor," I started, but the words caught in my throat, tangled in a mix of gratitude and unease. He didn't speak, just kept massaging, his hands gliding over my back with a care that made me hyper-aware of every touch. His fingers were strong but surprisingly gentle, tracing the knots along my spine with a precision that felt almost intimate. Something was shifting, something that scared me as much as it thrilled me. The garden, once my sanctuary, felt smaller now, the roses bearing witness to a moment I couldn't quite name. Taylor paused, leaning closer, his breath warm against my ear. "Elaine, this is really bad," he said, his voice thick with concern. "We can't fix this out here. Let's get you inside by the fireplace. The warmth will help, and I'll grab some cream for your back." I hesitated, the pain pulsing with every heartbeat, but it made the decision for me. I nodded, and he helped me to my feet, his strong hand steadying my elbow. "Careful, take it slow," he said, his arm sliding around my waist, guiding me toward the cottage. The closeness felt foreign, yet comforting, a warmth I hadn't known since Robert's laughter filled these rooms. The scent of his cologne, woodsy with a hint of citrus, mixed with the earth on my hands, grounding me even as my heart raced. Inside, the living room was bathed in the golden glow of the fireplace, the crackle of cedar logs filling the air with a smoky sweetness. The heat wrapped around me like a blanket, easing the tension in my body. My cottage was small but cozy, with worn oak floors, a faded floral sofa, and shelves lined with Robert's old books. Taylor spread a quilt on the floor, its patchwork pattern stitched by my mother decades ago. "You need to stretch out your back," he said, his eyes serious but flickering with something softer, something I couldn't place. "I've got some cream, it'll loosen those muscles." I lay down, the fire's warmth seeping into my bones, the quilt soft beneath me. Taylor knelt beside me, rubbing the cream between his palms to warm it. The first touch on my shoulders made me exhale sharply, a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. "Relax," he said softly, his voice like a lullaby. "You'll feel better soon." But his hands weren't just easing my pain. They were stirring something deeper, something I thought I'd buried with Robert. As his fingers moved down my back, my thoughts spun, a mix of clarity and chaos. His touch was healing, but also awakening, pulling at emotions I hadn't felt in years, longing, connection, a spark of something forbidden. "It's no wonder your muscles are so tight," he said, his voice carrying a warmth that caught my heart. "You're taking on too much, Elaine. The garden, the housework, you need to think about yourself too." His words were a mirror, reflecting the weight I'd carried alone. I tried to deflect, my voice soft. "The garden's my therapy, Taylor. Without it, I'd—" He cut me off, his touch softening, his fingers lingering on a knot near my lower back. "But you need more than the garden. You need people, someone who cares about you." His words warmed me more than the fire, but they also stirred unease. I didn't fully understand what he meant, or maybe I did, but I wasn't ready to face it. His hands slid lower, loosening the tight spots but creating a different kind of knot inside me, a tangle of gratitude, fear, and something I couldn't name. Being this close to him felt both reassuring and terrifying, like standing on the edge of a cliff, the wind pulling me forward. "Taylor," I said, my voice shaky, barely above a whisper, "you're really helping, but—" "Everything's okay," he interrupted, his voice slower, deeper, resonating in the quiet room. "Just relax, Elaine." His words felt like more than advice, like a promise growing heavier with every second, the fire's glow casting long shadows across his face. The heat in the room became unbearable, and I noticed Taylor wipe sweat from his brow, his blonde hair sticking to his forehead. Then, in one fluid motion, he pulled off his flannel shirt, revealing a sun-kissed, muscular frame that glowed like a sculpture in the firelight. My breath caught, my eyes tracing the lines of his shoulders, the strength in his arms. I hadn't felt this kind of closeness in years, and the sight of him, strong, vital, alive, stirred something I couldn't name, something that made my heart pound. "This heat's too much," he said casually, dropping the shirt to the floor, the fabric landing in a heap beside the quilt, but his eyes, deep and intense, held mine, a silent question lingering in their blue depths. "Elaine, you're getting hot too. You'll feel worse if you keep that shirt on. Let me help." My words stuck in my throat, caught between reason and the overwhelming warmth of the room, of him. Sweat beaded on my skin and I nodded slowly, unable to form a protest. Taylor knelt beside me, his hands careful as they reached for the hem of my blouse. His touch sent a shiver through me, not cold, but electric, a current that made my skin tingle. He gently worked the fabric over my head, his fingers brushing my hair, and set the shirt aside. The air between us thickened, his gaze lingering for a moment before he turned away, as if to give me space. But I didn't need to see his face to feel the chaos his presence sparked, the storm it stirred in my chest. "Elaine," he said, his voice deeper, softer, almost a whisper. "Do you feel better now?" "I think so," I replied, my voice cracking, unable to hide the turmoil inside. It wasn't just the heat, it was Taylor, his warmth enveloping me, his presence filling the hollow spaces in my soul. "Come on," he said, offering his hand, his calluses rough against my palm. "Let's sit on the couch. You're uncomfortable here." I took his hand, and the moment our fingers touched, electricity surged through me, a spark that made my heart race. His strong arm steadied me as I stood, his protective nature melting my fears, making me feel safe in a way I hadn't in years. We moved to the couch, its faded cushions sinking under our weight. He sat close but left a careful distance, a deliberate space that did nothing to ease the tension in the room. The fire crackled, its light dancing across his features, highlighting the sharp line of his jaw, the softness in his eyes. Silence settled between us, heavy and thick, punctuated only by the fire's crackle and the distant howl of a wind outside. My heart pounded so loudly I thought he could hear it, each beat echoing in my chest like a drum. I turned, and our eyes met, his gaze holding something unspoken, curiosity, desire, something deeper I couldn't name. Time seemed to stop, the world narrowing to the space between us. Taylor reached for my hand, his fingers brushing mine, sending a shiver through me. His touch wasn't accidental, it was deliberate, a question in the way his thumb grazed my knuckles. His gaze lingered on my lips, and in that moment, everything shifted. The voices in my head, warning me of boundaries, of right and wrong, fell silent. There was only Taylor, his breath warm on my skin as he leaned closer. I closed my eyes and leaned in, just a fraction, enough to meet him halfway. Our lips met, soft at first, exploratory, like testing the waters of a forbidden stream. But within seconds, the gentleness gave way to something urgent, intense, a flood of emotions breaking free. His warmth, his breath, the feel of his lips, it was as if the loneliness, fear, and longing I'd carried for years merged with him in that moment. This wasn't just a kiss. It was an expression of everything I'd suppressed, a hidden bond surfacing in the firelight. His hands roamed my cheeks, gentle but firm, and my fingers gripped his shoulders, feeling the strength beneath his skin. When we pulled away, our breaths uneven, our eyes locked, and the bond between us felt unbreakable, a thread woven through years of shared moments now pulled taut. "Taylor," I said, my voice trembling but certain, the words spilling out before I could stop them. "I want you." The admission shattered something inside me, melting years of loneliness, fear, and grief. His face flashed surprise, his blue eyes widening, then a slow smile spread, warm and unguarded. I want you too, Elaine, he said, his voice firm yet tender, resonating in the quiet room. I've been trying to hold back, but I can't anymore. I want to be with you. His words washed over me like waves, each one touching my heart, filling the hollow spaces. He cupped my face, his thumbs brushing my cheeks, and kissed me again, the intensity erasing any doubt. We didn't stop, our bodies tangling in the firelight, the quilt forgotten, our clothes scattered across the floor like leaves in the wind. Afterward, we lay beneath a thin sheet, breathless, the fire's glow painting our shadows on the walls. The night felt surreal, like a dream I didn't want to wake from. Taylor turned to me, his captivating smile softening his features, his hand grazing my cheek, his thumb brushing my lips. "Ela," he said, his voice deep and soft, "I wouldn't trade this moment for anything." I turned to him, gratitude flooding me, mixed with the chaos of what we'd done. "Thank you, Taylor," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "I haven't felt this alive in so long. You being here, it's everything." His smile widened, that boyish charm lighting up his face. "Elaine, you're beautiful. Not just your looks, but your warmth, your sincerity. You make me better, make me feel alive, too." I swallowed, my throat tight. "I needed you," I admitted. "And you were here. I couldn't ask for more." He ran his fingers along the sheet's edge, his touch deliberate. "I'll be here, Elaine," he said, his voice carrying determination and sincerity. "Whenever you need me, I'll come back. For you, for this." His promise settled over me like a warm blanket, opening a new door in my life. The burdens of loneliness, the weight of grief, faded in his presence, replaced by trust and peace. The next morning, the cottage was quiet, the fire reduced to embers, the air still carrying the faint scent of cedar. I woke to the sound of birds outside, their songs filtering through the open window. Taylor was already up, brewing coffee in the kitchen, the clink of mugs a soft reminder of his presence. We didn't speak of the night before, but his smile, his gentle touch as he handed me a steaming cup, said enough. The world outside continued. Neighbors waved as they passed, unaware of the shift that had happened within these walls. They saw a devoted step-nephew helping his aunt, bringing groceries, fixing the shed. They didn't see the way his hand lingered on mine, the way our eyes met in silent understanding. Weeks later, Taylor's visits became more frequent, each one a quiet promise kept. He'd help in the garden, his hands brushing mine as we planted new roses, or sit with me by the fire, the warmth no longer just from the flames. We were careful, always careful, the world none the wiser. The neighbors praised his kindness, their smiles oblivious to the truth. And as we moved through our days, hand in hand in stolen moments, I felt alive again, the hollow spaces filled with something new, something dangerous, something beautiful, something ours.